300,000 Americans will be hospitalized for a broken hip this year. Roughly 1 in 5 of them will not be alive 12 months later. And here's the part that nobody is telling the people it matters most to. Most of them were walking, some of them every single day. Before anything else, I want to acknowledge something directly. If the fear of falling has crossed your mind, if you have grabbed a wall mid-step or felt your balance shift in a way it did not used to, that feeling deserves to be taken seriously, not dismissed, not told it is just aging. Because for many seniors, it is not aging. It is a specific muscle failure that walking, no matter how much of it you do, is almost completely unable to fix. Here is what the research now understands. Walking is a slow twitch, forward-only aerobic activity. It trains endurance. And endurance is not what catches you when you stumble. What catches you is a split-second explosive contraction of specific muscles on the outside of the hip, the front of the shin, and the deep core. These are fast twitch muscles. They fire in the first 100 to 200 milliseconds after a stumble and decide whether your leg holds or buckles. And walking does not train them. A study tracking gluteus medius activity at varying gait speeds found no meaningful increase in activation regardless of how fast people walked. The muscle most responsible for lateral stability and the protective catch step simply does not respond to more walking. It responds to something different entirely. Today, we are counting down 6 exercises that target exactly those neglected muscles, all done lying flat in bed. No equipment needed, no standing required, 0 impact on the joints. Beginning with the exercise that prevents the toe catch trip that most seniors never see coming, and building to number 1, an exercise where the leg never moves at all, and yet which may activate more muscle fiber than a full walking session. Drop your age and where you are watching from in the comments below. We read every single one. Now let us start with exercise 6. Exercise 6. Ankle dorsiflexion pumps. Exercise 6 is the one most likely to be underestimated. It looks gentle, it feels simple, but the muscle it trains is directly responsible for one of the most common trip mechanisms in older adults, and most seniors have never once deliberately worked it. The muscle is the tibialis anterior. It runs along the front of the shin, and its job during the swing phase of walking is to lift the toes off the ground as the foot travels through the air between steps. When this muscle is strong, the toes clear the floor cleanly on every stride. When it weakens, as it does progressively after 60, the clearance drops, sometimes just a centimeter or 2. Research from the journal Frontiers of Human Neuroscience identified the tibialis anterior as the primary muscle controlling minimum toe clearance and established that even small reductions in that clearance significantly increase the risk of catching the toe and tripping. The problem is that walking uses this muscle, but never loads it enough to strengthen it. The tibialis anterior fires during each swing phase, but works at a low, repetitive, non-progressive level. It is being used, but never challenged, so it quietly weakens year by year, while the person continues their daily walks, feeling entirely confident they are doing enough. Here is a practical way to get started. Lie flat on your back, with both legs straight and relaxed, and your arms at your sides. Pull both feet toward you, drawing the toes and tops of the feet upward as far as they comfortably go. Hold for 2 full seconds. Feel the front of both shins engage. Then slowly point both feet away, as if pressing a pedal, and hold for 1 second. That is 1 repetition. Complete 15 to 20 repetitions. Rest for 30 seconds. Complete a second set. Move through the full range deliberately. In the second set, make the upward pull snappier and quicker on the lift. A crisper contraction recruits the fast twitch fibers that stumble recovery requires. Lower slowly on the return in every repetition. Do these first thing in the morning before getting out of bed. Within 2 weeks, most people notice their first steps of the day feel more controlled. The feet feel more alive. The ankles feel more stable under the first movements of the morning. That is the tibialis anterior waking up after years of being used without ever being trained. Exercise 5, heel slides. Exercise 5 addresses the second hidden cause of falls, Not a sudden collapse, but a recovery step that arrives too slowly, lands too short, or comes too stiffly to catch the body in time. Here is the mechanism. When you stumble forward, the automatic response is to swing one leg out into a large, rapid stride to catch the center of gravity before it passes the point of no return. In a young, mobile body, this happens explosively and without conscious thought. In an older adult with stiffened hip flexors and shortened hamstrings, the recovery step is delayed. The hip does not extend far enough back to allow a long catch stride. The knee does not flex quickly enough to drive the leg forward. The step arrives shorter than needed, and by then the center of gravity has moved too far to be rescued. Walking does not reverse this. Normal walking uses only a fraction of the hip and knee's potential range. The hip flexor is never fully lengthened. The hamstring is never loaded through its full arc. Stiffness accumulates gradually over years, and daily walking cannot undo it. Targeted, slow, controlled movement through the full available range is what is needed. That is precisely what heel slides provide, lying flat with the joints completely unloaded. Start with this gentle approach. Lie on your back with both legs extended. If the sheet feels rough, place a smooth sock on the working foot. Slowly slide one heel along the mattress toward the buttocks, keeping it in contact with the bed throughout. Go as far as comfortable without pain. Hold the bent position for 3 seconds, feeling the gentle pull in the back of the thigh. Then slide the heel slowly back to the start. That is 1 repetition. 12 repetitions per leg, 2 sets per leg. Rest 30 to 45 seconds between legs, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Slow is the entire point. Any faster, and the muscle work disappears entirely. As the heel slides become easier over the first 2 weeks, add a small progression. After sliding the heel in and holding for 3 seconds, gently press the foot down into the bed for 2 additional seconds, as if trying to push the mattress away. This adds a light hamstring activation at the end range, increasing muscle demand without any additional joint stress. Then slide back out as normal. After the first week, most people find morning stiffness in the knees and hips reduces noticeably. Getting out of bed requires less of a haul. The legs move more freely from the first moment of the day. Exercise 4, the dead bug. Exercise 4 has an undignified name but an important purpose. It trains the system that decides in the first milliseconds after a stumble whether the body can stabilize itself or not. Here is why it matters. When balance is disturbed, the body's first line of defense is not the legs, it is the trunk. The deep abdominal muscles, specifically the transverse abdominis, fire before the limbs even begin to respond. They create a rigid, stable platform from which the arms and legs can move explosively to catch the fall. When this deep stabilizer system is weak or slow, the trunk sways inward on impact. The center of gravity shifts past the base of support, and the corrective limb movement cannot arrive in time. Research into core stability in older adults has found that targeted training improves both static balance and reactive postural control, the ability to recover from unexpected shifts in balance. The dead bug is one of the most specific ways to train this system because it demands anti-extension trunk control while the limbs move through large ranges of motion, exactly the demand a stumble places on the body. And done lying flat, it is safe for almost everyone, regardless of joint pain or mobility limitations. Here is a simple step you can start with today. Lie on your back with knees bent, feet flat on the bed. Raise both knees so your hips and knees form right angles, shins parallel to the mattress. Raise both arms straight toward the ceiling. Press your lower back gently into the mattress and hold it there throughout every repetition. This contact is the anchor. The moment the lower back lifts, the deep stabilizers switch off. Slowly lower your right arm toward the head of the bed while simultaneously straightening and lowering your left leg toward the foot of the bed. Take 3 to 4 seconds. Pause for 2 seconds at the lowest point. Return both limbs to start. Switch sides. That is 1 full repetition. 8 repetitions per side. 2 sets. Rest 45 seconds between sets. If the full movement is too difficult at first, begin with arms only and add the legs when that feels fully controlled. After the first week of consistent practice, most people notice that turning quickly feels more controlled, and the instinctive grab for a wall when balance shifts slightly starts to happen less often. That is the deep stabilizer system beginning to do its job again. If you are finding this video helpful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Exercise 3 introduces the most important fall prevention muscle in the body and explains exactly why walking cannot train it. Exercise 3, clamshells. Exercise 3 introduces the muscle that research has placed at the very center of fall prevention, and whose failure is one of the clearest predictors of who stumbles and who catches themselves, the gluteus medius, deep on the outside of the hip, responsible for two things: keeping the pelvis level on every step and driving the explosive lateral catch step when a stumble goes sideways. On every stride, for a fraction of a second, the entire body weight passes through a single leg. The gluteus medius is what prevents the pelvis from dropping to the opposite side during that moment. When it is strong, the pelvis stays level and the next step is placed with precision. When it is weak, the pelvis dips, the gait breaks down, and every step is a small controlled stumble that avoids disaster only by chance. When a stumble goes sideways, the body places a foot rapidly to the side or across the midline to catch itself. Research has identified the gluteus medius as the primary driver of that lateral protective step. It aims and powers the catch step in the first fraction of a second. When it cannot generate that force quickly enough, the step arrives late, lands wrong, or does not arrive at all. And here is why walking cannot fix this. A study measuring gluteus medius activation at multiple gait speeds found no significant difference in muscle activity regardless of speed. The muscle is engaged at a low, flat, repetitive level during walking. It is not being overloaded, it is not adapting, it is simply being used. Here is an easy way to put this into practice. Lie on your right side, head supported, hips stacked directly on top of each other. Bend both knees to about 45 degrees. Place your top hand on your hip bone to monitor for any backward rolling. That rolling must not happen or the lower back takes over. Keeping the feet together and the pelvis still, rotate the top knee upward. Hold the top for 2 seconds, squeezing the outer hip. Lower slowly over 3 seconds, 12 to 15 repetitions per side. 2 sets each side. Rest 30 seconds between sides. After 2 weeks of consistent clamshells, add a light resistance band placed just above both kneecaps. Even a light band changes the exercise significantly. The gluteus medius now works against external resistance through the entire movement, not just at the top. This is the most direct progression from activation to genuine strengthening while remaining completely on the bed. Exercise 2, side-lying hip abduction. Exercise 2 is built on one of the most specific findings in fall prevention research. Before the instructions, the number deserves to be heard clearly. A study published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy measured gluteus medius activation across 12 common rehabilitation exercises, expressing each result as a percentage of maximum voluntary contraction. The established threshold for a genuine strengthening stimulus is 70%. The clamshell reached approximately 40%. Lunges reached 48%. Step-ups reached 48%. Side-lying hip abduction reached 81%. The highest activation of all 12 exercises tested. This is not a small difference. It is the difference between an exercise that warms a muscle up and one that builds it. There is a woman named Margaret whose story belongs here. Margaret was 72 and had walked 40 minutes every morning for 6 years. She felt strong and proud of those walks. But when her daughter noticed her grabbing door frames and walls when turning, they visited a physiotherapist. The assessment revealed that Margaret could not abduct her hip against even light manual resistance. The gluteus medius, despite 6 years of daily walking, had almost nothing left in it. The physiotherapist described her as having excellent cardiovascular fitness, sitting on top of a structurally unstable pelvis. 8 weeks of targeted side-lying hip abduction work later, the wall grabbing had stopped completely. The first step is simple. Lie on your right side in a straight line, head supported, hips stacked directly on top of each other. Bottom knee slightly bent for stability. Straighten the top leg completely and position it very slightly behind the body's midline. Toes facing forward, not toward the ceiling. Toes forward, legs slightly behind. Gluteus medius does the work. Lift the straight top leg to about 30 to 45 degrees. Hold for 2 full seconds at the top, squeezing the outer hip. Lower slowly, over 3 seconds, without resting the leg on the bottom leg between repetitions. 10 to 12 repetitions per side, 2 sets per side. Rest 30 seconds between sides. One small addition that significantly increases the training effect. After lowering the leg on each repetition, do not let it touch the bottom leg. Hold it 2 to 3 centimeters above, keeping the muscle under tension before immediately lifting into the next repetition. This removes the rest between reps and keeps the gluteus medius under continuous load throughout the set. After the first week, you will feel muscles on the outside of the hip that you may not have felt working in years. That is the muscle that catches you mid-stumble. Training it now is one of the most consequential decisions you can make for your safety and independence over the next decade. Exercise 1, the isometric quad set. After 5 exercises involving controlled movement through range, exercise 1 does something that will surprise almost everyone watching. The leg does not move at all, not an inch. And it may be the most important exercise on this entire list. An isometric contraction is when a muscle generates force without changing its length. The joint stays still, the limb stays still. What changes is the internal pressure inside the muscle as its fibers fire and hold. And the reason this earns the #1 position is what happens inside the muscle during that contraction compared to what happens during walking. The quadriceps, the 4 muscles across the front of the thigh, are the primary brake on the knee joint. When you step off a curb, lower into a chair, or begin to buckle mid-stumble, the quadriceps engage to prevent the knee from collapsing. Quadriceps weakness is one of the most consistent predictors of fall risk, difficulty rising from chairs, and reduced balance in older adults. Research in elderly adults found quadriceps strength was significantly correlated with standing balance performance, obstacle walking, and overall physical fitness scores. Here is what is counterintuitive about this exercise. During an isometric quad contraction performed at high effort, the muscle recruits a far higher proportion of its available fibers than during the submaximal effort of walking. Walking never asks the quadriceps for a full contraction. It manages the load of each step at whatever fraction of capacity the body needs. An isometric quad set, pressing the back of the knee downward as firmly as possible against a fixed point, demands something the muscle almost never encounters in daily life. A near maximal effort, held and sustained. That is what drives adaptation. That is what rebuilds what the years have quietly removed. Research into isometric quadriceps training in older women with knee osteoarthritis found that a structured program produced meaningful improvements in symptoms, postural control, and movement ability. And because the joint never moves, it is safe for virtually anyone, including those with knee pain, hip replacement, or arthritic stiffness. What you can do right now. Lie flat on your back in bed with both legs extended. Roll a small firm towel and place it under the back of one knee, creating a comfortable bend of around 15 to 20 degrees. The foot rests on the mattress. Press the back of that knee downward into the towel as firmly as you can while simultaneously tightening every muscle across the front of the thigh. When the contraction is correct, the kneecap will draw very slightly upward and the entire thigh will become firm and solid from hip to knee. Hold for 5 full seconds. Count them. Then completely relax for 5 seconds, letting the thigh go entirely soft. That is 1 repetition. 10 repetitions on the right leg. Rest 30 seconds. 10 repetitions on the left. 2 sets per leg. By the end of the first session, your thigh will have been working harder than it does on a full walking session. Not because of more distance or more time. Because you ask for something, the muscle almost never gets asked for. A full, deliberate, high effort contraction held against resistance. Something walking never requests and never provides. Do this every morning before getting out of bed. Within 3 to 4 weeks, most people report that rising from a chair feels measurably different. The legs feel more solid underfoot. The first steps of the day feel grounded in a way that had quietly disappeared. The muscle was always there. It just needed something to push against. Here's what today's 6 exercises tell us. Falling is not inevitable. It is a muscle problem. And the muscles that prevent falls are not the ones walking trains. The tibialis anterior lifts the toes and prevents the toe catch trip. Lying ankle pumps loaded in a way walking never does. The hip flexors and hamstrings need both length and speed to fire a recovery step in time. Heel slides restore both, gently, with the joints completely unloaded. The transverse abdominis keeps the trunk stable when balance is disturbed. The dead bug trains it specifically and safely, demanding the exact kind of trunk control a stumble requires. The gluteus medius keeps the pelvis level on every step and drives the lateral catch step that stops a sideways fall. Clamshells activate it. Side-lying hip abduction, reaching over 80% of maximum voluntary contraction, genuinely builds it in a way no walking program can match. And the quadriceps, trained with an isometric hold that demands a full contraction the muscle almost never encounters in daily life, become the anchor that stops the knee from buckling in the moment that matters most. 6 exercises. All done in bed, all joint friendly, all targeting the muscles that walking leaves behind. Start with exercises 6 and 5 on the first day. Add 1 more exercise every 2 days until you are doing all 6 in sequence. Each full session takes under 20 minutes. Practice 3 to 4 times a week alongside your walks. This is not about replacing walking. Walking is genuinely valuable. These exercises complete the picture that walking alone leaves incomplete. Which of these 6 surprised you most? Leave it in the comments below. We read every single one. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one. And share this with someone you love who is over 60. These exercises take 20 minutes. The hip fracture they might prevent does not. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.